This is a very exciting guest for me. He's one of my best friends. One of the reasons I wanted to do the show in the first place was to take a walk down his discography. Welcome
Oh
to
yes,
Dive, Andy Biersack.
I'm here. I'm looking at your table, or what would you call it? A bookcase back there? Certainly not a table.
It's my
I guess I'm
library.
unfamiliar with furniture. That's my main issue, and that's what we should mostly get into today. Is that I can't think of the word for furniture. But I will say, I'm a big fan of the way it looks. Like it looks like if I were playing a video game of Downey's life. That's what I would imagine Downey's house in the video game would look like.
Yeah, those are various accessories too that you would grab and you might need for different points in the journey.
No, it's good to be here. I'm excited to be here and do this with you. Obviously, we've talked about this for a long time since you started doing the show, so I'm happy to get into it.
Yeah.
Does
So
my hair look like it's 500 feet tall? Because it does in this. Like it's just bigger and bigger. The problem is I got my hair cut last week. I was really happy with it. My hair grows really fast. So now the spiking up portion is just getting out of control.
and you had to mine grows fast as well, which is a good problem to have, I guess, as we approach, you know, I don't want to say middle age, but wherever either one of us is in the generational scale, the fact that we have this much hair, we shouldn't complain about. But getting a haircut right now is a good idea because you might not be able to again in a couple weeks. That's what they were saying
It's
at my
true.
barbershop yesterday.
I just saw the deal of their closing stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just do it myself. I can just go back to that. But yeah, right now my hair is like 75 feet tall. It's I look a little bit like the punk rock Frankenstein.
Well, there is it would be great for the Downey video game behind me. You have a Kirk Hammett book, you have the Eerie Vaughn book, and before too long, that bookshelf is going to have the Andy Biersack book.
That's true. That is true.
So
the physical copy, or you can just print out the pages and put it on there yourself.
yeah, I could do that literally right now.
Yeah, you could.
One of the reasons why I like having a bookshelf behind me is the old John Waters quote that if you ever go home with someone and they don't have books, don't sleep with them.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any books behind me, but hopefully Juliet doesn't come in and change her opinion of me.
I'll keep that between us. So,
right.
What was your first experience in a recording studio?
My first experience in a recording studio was in 2006. It was in, I think it's called Deer Park. It's a neighborhood in the northern part of Cincinnati, near what used to be called Forest Fair Mall, which I recently learned because of the internet has just been left to become part of nature. Like it's just, it was abandoned and then they just let it go. And so like all the things that were in there now are just like way creepier than they should be. Like there's like I saw pictures where it's like the food court has like, trees and shit growing in it. And there's like the kids rides and stuff. Also where I saw Pinocchio, the live action Pinocchio that came out in the late 90s in theaters on a school trip. And I also discovered my love of Junior Mints that day. So it was a banner day for me. But no, so we recorded at this place. It was right catty corner to that. Also catty corner to a Christian rock venue called The Underground in Cincinnati, which was a venue that Black Veil Brides was never allowed to play. Not because we had done anything particularly anti-Christian, but because there was just a safe assumption that we weren't the right kind of band to be playing at The Underground. And they made that call on their own. So there was a venue, or there was a studio that I think one of the people who was in the band at the time had discovered online, or City Beat or whatever, however you used to find shit, because it wasn't like we really necessarily were Googling things. I mean, you could, but I don't know that we were even finding things that way. We were still going by the old way of like looking in the back of City Beat and trying to find a place to record music. But so we went there. We had pooled the money to be able to record, I think it was 2 or 3 songs. And everything about it now in retrospect was what you might call extra. Like the way that the gentleman who owned the place treated the whole proceedings was like we were entering like, the whatever Sound City, or like it was a very like way too fancy of a lobby area, way too many snacks, like all things considered, it was like it was like this guy's life stream to have a studio and to be treated like the king of a studio. And we were just sort of, we were experiencing his dream with him. But it was fine. We recorded the song. I was enamored of like all the sounds that you could make, you know, like discovering Pro Tools and how you could make noises happen. And so I was asking like, well, could we make it sound like a helicopter, or could we make it sound like an explosion? And he said yes. And so all of those things ended up in those songs. And so like at the end, there's a song called Devil for Me, which, and the other thing it's interesting about those songs is that I was not yet a lyricist. I didn't know how to write. The songs that I was writing at the time were primarily like horror punk songs about like zombie girlfriends and things like that. You know, I didn't have any experience writing songwriting, and I was obviously I was 15 or something at the time, and the other guys who were in that iteration of the band were much older. Not much older. I mean, they were probably 18, 19.
Which
but
when you're 15 is like a world. I mean, when I was 15, I was in a band with somebody who was 17, and it seemed like he was 100. You know, whereas
much more life
as you get older, it becomes
things.
less. Yeah.
And they were able to talk about things that I didn't know. They had drank, they had partied, they smoked cigarettes. They were all these things that I had no experience with. And so basically what happened was ultimately I didn't wind up writing any of those songs that were recorded that day. And the funny thing is a lot of people think that I have. And if you read the lyrics, they don't read at all like anything that I've written since. So Devil for Me, Hello My Hate, and I think that was the only two. So we did two. I think that was it. I think those are the two songs. And then later we did other songs in a different city. But I think the first time around it was two songs. But I didn't write either of those. Sex in Hollywood. That's the third one. Which is what, and this is not to be mean, but which is what a 17 or 18-year-old in Northern Kentucky imagined Hollywood would be like.
Right.
Based on movies and television. But again, I was so excited about it because I thought, yeah, cool. Like there was like a Murder Dolls song called like Dead in Hollywood. And I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of similar to that or something like that. But so I didn't write those lyrics, and I didn't really have any personal affinity for it. I just thought, well, I super want to have a band and these songs are cool enough. So we recorded those songs. People to this day ask like, well, where are those songs? And I'm like, I didn't write those songs. Like I have, you know what I mean? But because of the internet, they've lived on in different iterations over the years.
Like, where are those songs? 6 feet under the ground where they belong.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not for those of you who are fans of it. I'm not disparaging the songs in general. I mean, it's just that I have no real personal connection with them because, you know, I didn't write them, and I don't really know what they're about. Like I couldn't tell you what A Devil for Me is about. No, you know what? I did. I'm now I'm getting it wrong. I wrote the chorus to A Devil for Me. Maybe I wrote the most on A Devil for Me. So that's the one that I wrote the most on. Hello My Hate, I wrote absolutely nothing on. Sex in Hollywood, I think I wrote some of the verses on, or pieces of it. So I was involved, but not to the degree that I would later become, where by the time Black Veil Brides makes even the iteration that did We Stitch These Wounds or Mortician's Daughter or those kind of songs where I was the one writing the lyrics and coming up with the concepts. So yeah, that was my first experience with those couple songs. And then we put them out on like a CD and tried to get them on MySpace. And I remember going to like cdbaby.com or whatever the fuck it was and getting them onto iTunes. And that was it. That was like the beginning. And the funny thing is that literally I didn't like any of the songs. Like I was not a fan of any of them, but it was the only material that we had. And they didn't sound very good, but it was like, well, this is it. I gotta, you know, if I'm going to get to the next ring, which is to make more songs, I have to start with some songs. So that's kind of how it all started.
And you had recorded yourself before at this point, whether it was, you know, videos for MySpace and that sort of thing.
Well, I had a little Sony multi-track recorder thing, digital multi-track recorder. And we would set up, any version of the band would set up usually in like my garage or in the kitchen. My parents let me take the table out of the kitchen and use that as a rehearsal space in the house, which is a unique place to rehearse. But so, yeah, they would let me do that, and then we would record in there. And then sometimes I would use a little handheld video camera and then record us and then put those on MySpace or the very early version of YouTube. But and those songs were primarily covers. The first thing I released in my life was Biersack, which was the first iteration of Black Veil Brides, and it was 3 covers and then I put on CD, and this is when I was in my freshman year of high school, and I did all the artwork on MS Paint on the computer. And I went to Best Buy and bought like CD labels, and we printed out every single one, and it was so much fucking ink. And I would smear the ink trying to put the labels on the CDs and get the. But then I would go to school and I'd hand them out and tell them this is this new band that's coming and it's going to be the biggest band ever. And it was the guitar player's sister's name was Sherry, so we renamed Sadie to Sherry, which is the Alkaline Trio song, and then Wait for the Blackout, which is by the Damned, and fuck if I know the third one, Hybrid Moments maybe, or Some Kind of Hate.
I mean,
Some Kind of
those
Hate.
are pretty cool. Like there are way worse bands and songs for kids to have covered.
Yeah, I think I was most proud of the Some Kind of Hate cover. That's the one that I think was the best of the audio recordings on a little digital recorder. I mean, and also I didn't know how to play bass, so I just made up bass lines to play, and it was like in Sadie in particular, it's just absolute lunacy. It's like like I'm just playing whatever, and you can hear it loudly because it's coming out of this little like combo fuzz amp, and so bling 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 bling. Those songs exist somewhere online. I don't encourage anyone to listen to them, but they do exist. And so that was the first release I had, but the studio experience was the what became the Sex and Hollywood EP.
So yeah, so you weren't unfamiliar with the idea of hearing your own voice back, but you were unfamiliar with being in a air quotes professional studio.
Well, I mean, you know, from the time I was 4 years old or 5 years old, I was hearing my voice back because I would make everyone film me doing the entire soundtrack to the Phantom of the Opera or Sweeney Todd or the Kiss greatest hits, whatever it was, and I would just sing in the living room, and then it would be a show that everyone had to watch.
Little Johnny Rockenfield.
Little Johnny Rickfield. Yeah.
I always the Rick Springfield mashup. Sometimes I mash in the wrong spot.
Well, so, I don't know how I mashed it, you know, at that age. But again, I don't know why I loved the name Rick Springfield so much, but I did, and I thought this is going to be it.
Good name.
But I didn't know. I knew that I was little, and so I put that in there.
And like you,
self-awareness.
He was a singer-actor. He was on a television show. He did rock music. You know, there's continuity.
Maybe there's more to Rick Springfield's influence on me than we've ever gotten.